Welcome to the Expand Your Light podcast, a place where we discuss how to help individuals create transformational changes that help them step into their power and shine their light out into the world. I am your host, Patrick Farrell. I'm a business coach, a personal development enthusiast, a world traveler, and a digital nomad. I love bringing people together in community where they can learn more about themselves so that they can create a life that they truly love. My intention for this podcast is to create and share resources, insightful wisdom, and tools to help you learn more about yourself and the world around you so you can build a powerful life for yourself through your stories and your experiences. I want to help my listeners to be inspired to create a lifestyle beyond their wildest dreams. And through these episodes, I hope to provide valuable insights into new topics and ideas that may shift their perspective on life. It is my mission to help every human believe that anything is possible when they live a life full of love and service. Join me as we learn how to build our dream lives and make an impact on the world together. Welcome to our podcast where we're going to be talking with Sylvia and myself today, Patrick Farrell, about our transformational travel experiences around the world over the past few years and our recent trip to Croatia, where we had a ton of fun. My name is Patrick Farrell. I'm a conscious business and personal branding coach. And this is Sylvia. I'll let you introduce yourself.
Thank you so much, Patrick. My name is Sylvia Stankova. Just got married recently, so maybe you know me from Sylvia Jagla.
Yeah.
And I am a business and brain boosterer. I'm also a founder of a recently founded community, a curated community and entrepreneurial support system called Avantia.
I love it. It's good to reconnect with you. We just got off this Croatia boat trip that we've done twice now together. And we decided that we wanted to start talking more about transformational travel and how impactful it is and why it's better than a vacation, right? Why you would want to spend time intentionally traveling around the world with like-minded, like-hearted people and learning through the experience of travel. So why don't you talk a little bit about what transformational travel means to you and kind of define it for our audience real quick before we go into the Croatia trips?
So maybe I will begin on my personal journey of freedom and becoming a nomad, that a word that I haven't been kind of familiar with for a long time. So I started traveling over 5 years ago, went to India by myself and started with slow traveling, if you will. And it took me quite a while until I got in this whole personal and professional development environment and also in this nomadic community or nomadic communities, because there are way more out there than one. And this was the beginning of my, well, I would say probably the biggest breakthroughs, but also probably the most impactful awakenings that I had in those communities. And of course, this transformational traveling for myself personally. And why? Because when you're in a safe space, when you share with others, and when you hear other stories, you are so deeply motivated, but also maybe even to say deeply allowed to. So you give yourself permission to be yourself, to show your true colors and share your deepest fears or your deepest anything that is basically holding you back in this kind of community, and all together figure out a way how to get out of it. So you are not only part of this transformational traveling, but also a community and a friendship environment around the world where everybody helps each other. So this was basically, from my point of view, one of the biggest takeaways, that I am fortunate and honored to have friends around the world right now. Wherever I go, whatever kind of challenge I have, I know how I can reach out to people, and the other way around. So they reach out to me as well. It's not this kind of Instagram world, if you will. It's more about being honest, being vulnerable, and being true and really real while you're doing whatever you're doing along the journey.
Yeah, for sure. Something else I've thought about in the last few days actually is how powerful it is when you travel around the world and you go to places that you've been before too. And I'm back in Budapest after I think it was about 4 years ago that I was here, but it feels like I'm back home. And it feels really good because I've been here multiple times. I think people like underestimate the power of going back to a place multiple times. And I am so grateful to have many places around the world that I feel home now, even though like people think like, oh, I have to create a home in one particular place. Like I'm so grateful to have Croatia and Bali and other places around the world where I feel at home because I've been there multiple times. Tulum is another one. And it feels really good to go back to these places because you can change up your environment, you can meet new people there, but you always have a sense of home. But it takes a little while to build that too.
Mm.
And the first time I came here, the first time I can't go someplace, there's always an element of like not fear, but anxiety or excitement, I would say rather. And you're always like enjoying the process of connecting to a new city and trying something new. And eventually it starts to feel like home the more that you feel like there. So how many places around the world have you been multiple times? I'm just curious.
Like together, Croatia, Portugal, India. Now let me think more times in one place. Of course, where my home base right now and where I come back over and over again, it's Czech Republic here in Prague. And of course, some other places where I co-create with other people. But I think this would be in a nutshell, probably those places, because of course we had a little bit of a challenge the past 2 years.
Yeah.
Traveling was not so easy anymore. So especially for those of you out there who were kind of like stuck in some places or just got out. I know that I was in Italy a few days ago and there are people, we met just random people. This is what you do when you travel, even as an
Uh,
introvert and a
love it.
lone
Yeah.
wolf. So shout out to all the lone wolves out there here as well. And they told us that, and your friend as well, right? They were just basically from Canada. I believe she came from Canada. So people were just able to travel out of their countries. But yeah, those are probably those places where I would travel over and over again back. And Bali is one of those places as well. However, I believe that not only traveling back to a place gives you kind of the feeling of home, but also when you travel and you get used to have your suitcase, and your suitcase is basically your wardrobe. So every woman out there might know what I'm talking about. It's basically you have your home with yourself all the time, and it's so easy to and light and effortless that you are basically with your backpack or with your suitcase, depending on where I travel. And this is basically my home. And my home is literally everywhere, wherever I have just myself. And when I'm able to connect with my center, this is basically what I would define as my personal home.
I like it. Yeah, I think there's a huge element of personal growth, especially when you're traveling by yourself and you're trying new places by yourself because you're never really alone. You get to meet new people in a different city. Like I'm going to dinner tonight with a friend that I haven't seen since Nomad Cruise 2, which has been a while. So there's always an element of that, but it's a space for you to grow. It's a space for you to feel, to overcome your fears sometimes when you're traveling by yourself. And when you are able to do that, you feel more at home inside of your body. I know that when my first big travel experience, I went to Australia and I freaked out actually. I was so excited to go, but I got 14,000 miles away from my home and I freaked out. And I was like, oh my God, like I don't know what to do. I felt lost, but it took about 2 weeks kind of to get through all those like crazy, like scary emotions. But I'm so grateful for that because if I hadn't done that, I'm not sure how I would have been able to travel all these other times in a much more free time because I was able to release all that fear of being far away from family and far away from my home. And there's always this element of pushing your comfort zone when you do travel, but it gets easier the next time. It gets easier the next time. So excited to continue doing that and taking people on transformational travel experiences, which is what we just did. We were just in Croatia and we have done this trip twice. I've actually done it 3 times, but you've been my co-host for the last 2 trips. And we love this boat and we love the captain of this boat specifically. He is such a nice man. He truly is like embodies what I wish more people in the world would embody, the ability to like really care about family, the heart centeredness of he just wants people to connect and have a lot of fun and be friends. I love it. So we had a great experience and we brought 9 people together on this trip and everybody had a really great time. Well, they had a great time but there were also a lot of growth on that boat. And if you want to talk a little bit about the growth that people are experiencing and what they went through during that week, that would be great.
So I think one thing that I just wanted to mention, and those words are not from me, but from a participant, it's changed my life and I feel fully alive afterwards. And I think this sums it up perfectly. So what we are able to do, and this is something else when I travel alone rather than we are hosting retreats. I was doing this also in India and in Sri Lanka and now in Croatia. It's that people like mentioned at the beginning, when you arrive in a safe space and you are able to connect very fast because we have an application process in place. So we make sure that we have only like-minded, open-hearted people on a boat. And this again allows you to basically go through a very fast heart opening and therefore also a very fast growth. And I would even call it evolution and a kind of elevation of yourself, including ourselves, I believe, because we, of course, whenever we grow, see people growing, we grow with them. We have something called mirror neurons. So whatever I see with someone else, it's of course already within us. And in particular, and on this trip in Croatia, what I believe that people are able to do, first of all, being able to be challenged by everything that they might be used to or not used to. So getting out of your comfort zone. And second of all, we have dort workshops, we have dort hot seats. So everybody is basically able to share and get whatever they crave for. So we have, of course, focus on personal development, but also in professional development. So Patrick is focusing what he just mentioned on other parts, but we also invited some other aspects on this trip that I would call a spiritual practice, that we invite other people to explore their own spiritual practice, whatever that means to each and every single one of us. And in order to be able to do that, you have to be, of course, somehow either connected already with it or open-minded to that. And most likely, when you join this kind of trips, you will see something in someone else that you might want to do as well, that you might want to collaborate with someone, or that you feel like you are deeply connected with them and you have friends for life. So I'm right now in touch with many, many participants of our last trip. Super grateful for that. And I believe each and every single one of them were able to leave something in Croatia and take something that is basically fulfilling them, that was meaningful for them, with them.
Absolutely. And I think that these trips are really powerful because they do give you that space to connect deeply, to get started with maybe open your heart even more, giving yourself a space to try new things. But one thing that I really found powerful too was when other people were sharing it, there's like, it's like raising your consciousness by helping just listening to somebody else or learning from someone else about how they believe that something happens in the world, or Angela, who was really powerful, and she did an astrology reading for each and every one of us. She told me more about my mission with astrology, and that she does believe that I'm here to help with big community building. And she just helped me believe in myself more, and her words like stick in my brain. And by that, like that's a gift that I will take for the rest of my life. And that's what these trips allow you to do, is get new inspiration, new thoughts, new belief systems that allow you to step into your power. Because it's kind of hard if you are just doing your typical 9 to 5, or you're just working in your business every day and you're kind of going with the same energy, you can get kind of in a rut or kind of stuck in the same thing. But when you put yourself in a new environment, it gives you an opportunity to grow, gives you an opportunity to experience more emotions, obviously through the trip. And when you're on this emotional roller coaster of, oh my gosh, this is amazing, I'm jumping off the boat and I'm so scared, which Angela did, to like deep heart center connections, it's kind of like this up and down emotional roller coaster. That's what also allows you to retain new information better. And these trips are really, really powerful ways to learn, because you're learning through experience rather than learning through like a YouTube video or something like that. What's been one thing that you took away that was an experience that you feel like you might take with you for a long time?
Oh, there were so many, honestly, like there were so many, but if you want to hear just one of them, I believe, of course, also the astrology reading by, yeah, Angela, that was very powerful. Many things that I already knew, or some things that I maybe needed to hear again. But I think most likely the memory that I think, or the experience that I will take from this trip specifically, is that many people were able to share their gifts and therefore give themselves the permission and the belief in themselves to continue a journey that is maybe not what they have been doing at home. Because
Hmm.
what we can do when we travel is nobody knows you, right? So you can be actually whoever you want to be. So you're not stuck in any kind of box or your own kind of, belief of I am this or that, and this applies especially to me. But again, this is basically the memory or the special moments that I would take with me from our last trip is that people were able to share their gifts, people were able to see themselves in a different role, see themselves in a with and connect with their higher selves in order to be able to then move on this heart-centered path that they might have been wondering or dreaming about beforehand. However, they just needed this particular experience or maybe this confirmation from our side and maybe their own permission to do so. And this was basically my most powerful experience.
I love it. Yeah, that's why I love our community. That's why I love where Nomad Cruise inspired me to do something like this, where skill sharing is really an important part of our trips and giving. It's obviously important for us to share our gifts with the participants, but it's also way more powerful, I think, also for the participants to share their gifts, like you just said, because afterwards, like Angela did her first astrology workshop, and she said, "Oh my God, that changed my life." Like it was like a dream come true. And she was given a space and a safe space to do it. And like you said, like it gives them the new belief that they can actually step into that power where they might not have had that opportunity before. And that is what travel does for you. You're meeting new people. There's no previous judgments around who you are in the world. There's no previous judgments around your personality. You get to be whoever you want to be. And that is a really powerful experience. It's actually why, like, yes, of course, we want to travel with our community and we'll continue to do that. But that's why I also love solo travel or traveling with a small group of people because it gives you the permission to go out in the world and learn something new without previous judgments of your friends or family.
Yes, and I think traveling in itself, it's again, we can travel again. So we are able to see different places. And some of them might be uncomfortable for us.
Hmm.
And this is where the juice is. This is basically, and
Yeah.
especially, I mean, you probably everybody knows this phrase, or most of us know the phrase, go with the decision that scares you the most, especially when it comes to traveling. I partially agree with that. However, make your homework and check out those places. Make sure, especially when you travel alone, what's going on there in order to be safe. But most of the places, and this is what I've learned while traveling as a solo female traveler most of the time. So I'm partially, yes, joining the trips, joining transformational traveling, but this is maybe 1 or 2 weeks in a row, maybe one or twice per year. And apart from that, I would be traveling mostly by myself. This year, I have different plans though. But however, in the past, I was mainly on the road by myself. And this taught me to understand that most of the places are not so scary like maybe the media or anybody else wants us to believe.
Right.
Yeah, and there are people that are very welcoming. There are people that are supportive. And this brings me back to Edo. There are people that are becoming, whenever you go back over and over again, they are becoming part of your chosen family. And maybe some of us don't have this kind of environment at home. Maybe you face something that most of us face when you want to go for a different path that might be not confirmed or part of the so-called system. When you want to go a different path, this might be, yeah, you might be facing different challenges, especially from your loved ones. And when you don't find support from your loved ones, I truly believe, and still I shared it also on our trip, that nobody means bad, that everybody is doing their best with the knowledge and the experience that they have. However, when you want to go for something that is deep in your heart and it might not be something that you see in your environment, I personally believe that traveling is opening up your abilities and also your capabilities to create something beyond your wildest dreams.
Absolutely. And I think that what you said too, like building more connections and like the people that you travel with, you create these connections much deeper, much quicker. And you like a lot of my friends, like yourself included, and many of my friends that are like really deep soul friends or really deep best friends now are people that I met traveling. And that has been magical for me. And you create deeper connections quicker and you just have epic experiences that's what ties you back too. It's the experience you have. It's what you learned on the trip. It's how you grew on the trip. And something else I wanted to mention for anybody that's like, oh my gosh, you have to travel to Europe from America, or you have to go all halfway around the world. Like Quite honestly, no. I have had experiences that are amazing by just putting myself an hour away from my home. When I lived in New York, we would rent a cabin up in upstate New York and go for a weekend with a group of people. And that element of traveling is pulling yourself out of one environment, putting yourself in a new environment with awesome people and having good conversations and having a bonfire at night and cooking dinner together. It's actually one of my favorite things in the world to do. And you always grow through those experiences. In Miami now, where I'm based, like we sometimes will just take a car ride up to West Palm Beach from Miami, or we'll go over to Marco Island for a day. And that always it puts you in a different environment. You can go to different restaurants, you see new places, and that's can be as easy as it is. Obviously, once you kind of get your feet wet in that, it does become more exciting to change up your environment totally and go from like America to Europe or Europe to Asia or something like that, because that's totally different. Like where I am in Europe right now looks totally different than Miami. And Asia is a totally different experience than Europe or the Americas. But I always think like it's definitely powerful just to change up your environment. So I encourage everyone that's watching this to think like, okay, how can I change my environment even for just a weekend? And what can I learn through this experience?
And especially when you take the time for yourself to put yourself in a different environment, you're going to see that you're going to see things differently.
Yeah.
It allows you to appreciate what you have maybe more, or it allows you to invite different things into your life that you haven't been able to see because of your environment.
That's a good one. So I was just in Zagreb, and you might have saw my story about this, but basically I had visited Zagreb for about 3 hours before on a train ride from, I think, Germany all the way to Split. It was the longest train ride I've ever done. Probably will never do that again. Well, never say never, but basically, like I was so tired. I was with a friend. We got off the train, and I only saw a really small portion of Zagreb. So I had this perspective that like the area we're on the train station, it's not the nicest area of Zagreb. It was okay, but back then I really, really didn't like it. I was so tired, but my perspective was just seeing this small area in this mindset where I'm tired. And then I decided to go back to Zagreb for the past week. And I just left a day ago. And I loved it because I saw it from a different perspective. I saw it from a different mindset. I saw it from a different point of view. And I explored areas of the city I had not seen before. So I thought it was a really good example of perspective. When you only see a small portion of something, you're not expanding. You're not seeing how beautiful it could be from a different viewpoint. You're not seeing how beautiful it could be in a just like literally like a mile away, how amazing the city is and how many awesome restaurants there are. And just think about that. Like never, it's like cliche, but never judge a book by its cover, right? It's like I judged it from this. I really didn't like it. And it took me 15 years before I went back and kind of reframed my thinking. Do you have any experiences of that like that in the past where you first time you saw something and then later you kind of shifted?
Like honestly, I think when I travel, I do my best to arrive there with an open mind and not to be pre yeah, as much as I can. Of course, we all have our kind of like, box thinking, no matter what country we are thinking about. Maybe you've heard something, maybe you've read something. But I think one of those most surprising experiences for me was my first traveling. You mentioned your first traveling when you were afraid and when you had basically your first trip. And my first trip alone was to Thailand, Koh Phangan. I'm not sure if you know the island.
Yep.
Very beautiful. I was there, by the way, twice as well, or three times by now. I don't remember anymore, but this is one of the places that I revisit as well. And I traveled there for the first time by myself. I booked a bungalow there and I could not sleep for at least 2 or 3 days because I was so afraid being by myself in this bungalow. Now, this sounds maybe super silly to some of you, but when you have never been traveling by yourself before, and now you're first of all in a different country, and Asia is completely different than Europe, then you are basically surrounded with many, many people that you're not used to before. And the third thing is what happened is that I booked a scooter. Like this is what you do when you're in Copenhagen, you book a scooter. And then I started to drive around, felt kind of this freedom, started to connect with myself, and I got lost. My phone died, and I was basically in the middle of Copenhagen and didn't know where to go to back. I think actually everything that you can imagine happened on this evening.
Yep.
Then, of course, now imagine what happened. Of course, first of all, there are other tourists. They see you. They have a phone as well, right? So you
Yep.
are able to ask for help. That is, by the way, well, it was not and was not one of my strengths. Today, I ask for help way more often whenever I actually really need help. Back then, I could not ask for help because this is what you kind of expect from a strong woman, if you will. It
Mm.
was at least one of my limiting beliefs. So I asked for help. Then some local guys helped me as well, guided me towards my place back. And this was the first evening. And I was like, okay, I'm surprised there are so many people out there that would help you. And whenever you find yourself, and this is one of those biggest surprises when you're traveling, whenever you find yourself in a situation where you just think, okay, I don't even know what to do next,
Yeah.
it's when you step into your superpower. And when you are on the other side, you are just unstoppable because you think, okay, when I manage this, I'm going to be able to manage that. And I had another experience in Brazil, Patrick, when we met each other. You remember, and
Yeah.
this was one of my worst trips ever in my life. And actually, but again, I arrived there. I literally in my whole like not and nothing happened to me. But on the journey along, I was like, okay, what's happening? How am I going to get out of this? And again, a local person, amazing local woman, helped me, supported me. So I would always, and yeah, this is what I personally believe when you travel, especially when you travel alone and you're in a kind of environment that you wouldn't be at home most likely, because you know your surroundings, you know where to go to next, or you even know how to ask or who to ask to get some support. When you travel, this might be different, especially when your phone dies, when you cannot charge anywhere, or you cannot connect with any Wi-Fi. So you're basically connecting with your superpowers and you're able to get out on the other side way, way stronger and softer as well, because you understand that you don't have to fight so badly by yourself, but rather just really sit in the situation, get calm. Like my first reaction was, by the way, in Brazil back then, when I was traveling to meet you there, I was like, okay, nothing is working. I have literally nothing in place. I don't even know where to go to. I just gonna sit down, have a cake and a coffee and something will come up, and it did. It really did. So you become way calmer, and the trust in yourself and trust in the process becomes part of your DNA.
I love it. And yeah, that's like a lot of people have different perceptions around Brazil or anywhere in the world. Like I recently went to Mexico City. People used to, myself included, actually have this perception that Mexico City is a dangerous place or Brazil is a dangerous place, right? But I truly believe the vast majority of the world is really nice people that just want to help each other. Yes, there are bad things that happen. Yes, there are bad people in the world. But in general, I just believe, like you said, like there's always somebody that's going to help you. You're going to find the right people that are going to help you get through the situation. And I went to Mexico City and like this perception that kind of the news and movies, like I
Mm,
think it's a lot of movies that give you this perception that this city is a dangerous place to be. And then I arrive in Mexico City and it's beautiful and I feel very safe walking around. I'm sure there's areas of it that you don't want to be in, I'm sure.
mm,
But in general, like as long as you're conscious of where you're spending your time, making sure you're doing the right thing, not to be in the ghetto, it's like 11 o'clock at night. In general, the world is a very, very safe place, in my opinion. And we need to travel to see it from a different perspective. And we have these preconceived notions that these places are dangerous when in reality, that's not always the truth. So I think it's a good metaphor for life too, is like you have maybe a limiting belief inside of yourself. Oh, I can't be an entrepreneur. Oh, I can't travel around the world. Oh, I can't have that relationship that I'm looking for. Well, step into a different perspective, see it from a different point of view, maybe go on a trip with people that help you see it from a different point of view. And you realize that that wasn't the truth. The truth is that you are a powerful individual, that you can travel around the world, that you can build a business, whatever it is. So I
mm.
think that's the main takeaway for today too, is like using travel as a way to step into your power, using travel as a way to see the world from a different perspective. I have to go and shortly. So is there anything else that you'd like to follow up with that on that topic of how we can help people transform and step into their power through travel?
Yeah, I would just like to mention, like mentioned before, do your homework when you travel. Like Patrick just said, there are places or cities that you just have to be conscious about what you're doing. So we don't want to promote, of course, anything that might not be really kind of like, that might not be matching your expectations. So just make your homework. And I truly believe that you will be surprised positively by the world, like Patrick just mentioned. At least this is our experience by traveling for now over 5 years around the world to many, many places. And yeah, I think just to close this up and talking about transformational traveling, I have already some things so we together as well in place. I truly believe that when you get out of your comfort zone, and this is, by the way, what neuroscience shows as well, when you start to travel, get out of your comfort zone is absolutely great for your mental health, your overall well being, and your overall energy level. This is just scientifically proven that novelty supports your overall brain function and your overall well being. So, when you start doing this, you're going to probably invite way much more energy into your day to day life. And when you're dreaming about doing this, just reach out to us, connect with us, and we are more than happy to share with you our experience. But yeah, just to sum it up, I'm always surprised and always super grateful when I see people traveling with us and trusting us to share their deepest fears or their deepest pain. So we are all able to heal together and then come out on the other side in such a empowered way, an encouraged way to do things differently. So the world will and is a better place when we are all doing this together.
Absolutely. And like you said, yes, absolutely do your research. Don't put yourself in any situation that is dangerous. And we want to encourage that. But it does make it easier sometimes when you travel with other people that have been there before. And that's why a lot of the places that I go to, I love to bring people to them. I love to bring people to Tulum. I love to bring people to Budapest. I love to bring people to Croatia, where we just were. So finding those people that have been there before, that can show you the ropes, that can show you the cool places to go. Just to wrap that up, actually, I didn't even realize that I was going to Guatemala. I booked a trip to Guatemala. I had no plans. I was going to go by myself. And surprisingly, my friend Sammy and her husband or fiance, I guess right now, and her other friend were going at the same exact time. And I was so grateful because they were there and she had been there many times before. And I had such a more magical experience because she showed me all the locals that she knew and all the local places that she knew, and I never would have had that experience had I just gone by myself. So I do encourage you to do solo travel, but do your research, find people that might have been there before that you can connect with, that you can go with, that will show you, because it will make your transformational travel experience much more impactful, much more powerful. And we hope that we can be those people for you in the future too. We want to take you guys to more places and definitely back to Croatia next summer. So if you guys want to join us in Croatia, wearelightclub.com/Croatia is a link, and we would love to have you there. Sylvia, do you want to talk about your community that you're building or your program that you're building
Yes,
before we
we
end?
Yes, would love to. It's still kind of in the creation process, so we will share the link below. But I think whenever you want to grow your business and develop your business as well as your leadership, I'm basically your go-to person, and we are going to have a curated community, but also family connections while growing together personally and professionally. So I'm truly excited about that and grateful that I've been able to learn from so many people as well and now share it with others, so we are all able to have this life that we are really craving and that we wish to have together, no matter where it is. It can be in our homes, it can be around the world. I think as long as we just do whatever feels good to us and really tune into ourselves. And this is, by the way, what we can do on traveling so beautifully. Tune into our center and understand what we want when we are not in our used environment or something that is common to us, and we get into another place. Like you said, the perspective, you're able to get into your own center and create a perspective for yourself. So, yes, I'm super excited about the community, about our partnership, our community, and of course, sharing way, way more things on our podcast here together.
Awesome. Well, can't wait for more. And yeah, if you guys want to follow me, I'm patrickfarrell.life on Instagram, Farrell. And you're Sylvia_Jagla, which I guess you have to change soon if you want to.
So yes, for everybody who's just wondering, I know a little bit of a mess. Welcome to my beautiful, sweet mess. I just got married at the beginning of the year. Then I was traveling quite a lot. So catching up with all the adjustments. But yes, Sylvia_Jagla at the moment.
Cool. Well, we're going to do these recordings once a month on the first Monday of the month, I believe. And we're going to try to get you guys more information on transformational travel. Maybe we'll have some inspiring videos for you. And actually, I would love to at some point have the ability for the audience to be here with us and ask questions. So maybe we can think about doing that as well in a future episode. So thank you so much for your time today and looking forward to seeing you very soon.
Thank you so much.
All right. Bye.